Hello, YouTube friends. I hope you're doing well. Sending you tons and tons of love from this beautiful water feature. Let's focus on that for a second. Yeah. I hope you're all doing well. I've missed you. And I've had this message on my heart for the last little while. I've just been trying to find words for it. And right now, you guys, on an individual level and a collective level, we are going through what I keep hearing is the Great Excavation. Okay, the Great Excavation. This is an intense time for all of us. And what's happening right now is, you know, when you have a sore or a blister of some kind and you gotta pop it so that it can heal. That's what's happening right now on an individual and a collective level. We are excavating so much darkness inside of ourselves and inside of our societies so that healing can happen. Now, trigger warning, okay? I'm gonna talk about death and genocide for just 1 minute, and I know this isn't something that I normally talk about, but this is something that's going on right now. Something that was recently discovered that I want to shed light on, okay? So for those of you who don't know, I live in British Columbia in Canada, and we have had residential schools active in this country, in Canada, up until the late 80s, early 90s. Now, residential schools, go look it up if you're not familiar, but these are schools run by the Catholic Church where they brought Indigenous youth to assimilate them, essentially. And recently in Kamloops, BC, the remains of 215 Indigenous children were found. These were undocumented deaths, so circumstances are suspect, okay? And I've been doing a lot of crying about this and a lot of feeling about it. But this is one of the many things that is being excavated right now. One of the many atrocities that in the not so recent past could happen behind closed doors and could happen right underneath our noses and with the consent of the masses. And I was having a beautiful conversation yesterday with a soul sister named Yasmin. I'll put you on to her. She's going to have me on her podcast. And I was saying that in the light of all of this tragedy, we need to educate ourselves. We need to investigate these things. We need to ask questions and listen and talk to our Indigenous people. Talk to the people who have been oppressed by this society and learn their stories. Learn their stories. Listen with empathy and allow their stories to be heard and felt, because it's important. It's so important. And things like this are very shocking. I think a lot of us are still in shock about what's been uncovered. But we are living in a time now where everyone has a phone, a camera like this in their pocket. Everything is being documented. And it's ushering us into an age of authenticity, of storytelling, of reconciliation on so many parts. And this isn't going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take time for stories like this of the residential schools, where I didn't even learn about this in school growing up, okay? This was not a part of our history lesson. But stories like this of the residential schools and of atrocities that happened right underneath our noses, behind closed doors, these are all coming to light. And I keep getting the feeling that no stone will be left unturned. No shadow will not have a light shine on it. Every shadow will have a light shine on it. Every stone will be overturned. Every story needs to be heard. Every part of our past needs to come to light and be integrated, needs to be acknowledged, needs to be witnessed. Individually and collectively, every shadow part is to be integrated. And this is not comfortable work, you guys, but it's necessary. There's so much talk in the spiritual community about a new world, a new earth. But if we can't acknowledge the way that the earth has been and the way that the world has operated, we can't move into that new earth. We can't move into the new world without acknowledging what's here. Sorry, I keep moving around. I'm on this like little tiny brick ledge. Like this is how big the step is. It's like this big. Anyways, it's the Great Excavation is what I keep hearing. Sorry about the siren, but sirens mean urgency. Sirens mean that what's happening is important. And this is something that we all need to focus on right now, you guys, individually and collectively. So on the individual level, this looks like really doing the shadow work, really sitting with yourself, sitting with yourself and your belief systems and the way that you work and the way that you think and the way that you operate, and seeing what works and what doesn't, seeing what is healthy for you and what isn't, and seeing what the ways that you operate that might, just observing the ways that you operate and seeing, asking the question, is the way that I'm operating good for myself? And is the way that I'm operating and thinking good for the collective? Because the way things are going, we cannot be in our own little worlds anymore. We cannot be in our own heads, only concerned with ourselves. This is the age of Aquarius. This is the time where we need to work together. We need to hear our stories. We need to hear the stories of others. We need to witness it all. And then the healing can start. And we've got to be thorough. And the way to be a good ally, I know I'm all over the place with this, you guys, but it just keeps coming. It's the work of the time right now is to be an ally to ourselves and to be an ally to our brothers and sisters walking this planet. All of them. All of them. There are no exceptions. Everyone. All of them. We are all one human family. Doesn't mean we all have to get along. Doesn't mean we all have to agree. But we do need to work together, and we do need to witness and acknowledge the ways that this world has been operating. We need to witness and acknowledge the shadowy bits and the things that are sometimes hard to look at and hard to understand and hard to bear and hard to feel. This is the courageous work of the light warrior. This is the courageous work of ascension. Ascension is not just for you and me on an individual level. Ascension is for us all. And the way that we do that, the way that we lift everyone up, is to hold space for it all. It's to hold space for the stories that are hard to witness. It's to hold space for the places in ourselves that are traumatized and hurt. It's to hold space for the lived experiences of people who have been oppressed, generations who have been oppressed. It's holding space for the darkness within ourselves and within our society, as well as the light. All of it. every single part of our lived experience and that of other people. Because when we're just trying to focus on the good vibes only and the light and love only, we miss a huge part of life on this planet. We miss a huge part of someone else's experience. Because if you've lived life on this planet, you know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and it's not always good vibes. Like, it's good to aspire to bring positivity into everything that you do, but let's not spiritually bypass the realness, the grittiness of this world, the realness and the grittiness of your own life experience and that of others. Because that is life on this planet as a human. It's beautiful and it's real and it's gritty and it's raw, and sometimes it's devastating, and sometimes it's exhilarating, and sometimes it's inspiring, and sometimes it's brutal. But part of what's happening in this great excavation that is happening on the planet right now is, like, think of an archaeological dig. You're digging stuff up and looking at it and examining it. That's what needs to happen right now, is everything that's coming up for us individually and collectively, we've got to examine it. We've got to look at it. We've got to turn it over, check out all sides of it. We've got to pull it apart, look at the insides of it. We've got to really know every part of what's coming up, what's being dug up and excavated right now. That's the work. That's the work right now. And it's not easy, but I assure you that it will be worth it for yourself and for everyone around you, for the collective. Every bit of it is important. And if you've made your way onto my channel, you get this. You know this. You might wish it was different, but this is why we're here, is to bear witness to the stories, to bear witness to the experiences, to hold space for it all, to hold space for it all, to speak. I think I'm going to leave it there. I know this was a little bit of an intense message today, but it just wasn't leaving me alone. So I know it was a little bit intense, but know that anything that I bring to you is coming from love. My intention behind everything is love for you, for everyone, for the world, and for the collective. It's all what I'm bringing is love. And sometimes we've got to get a little bit gritty in our journey. Sometimes we've got to get real and courageous and just sit and face the shadow. Because doing this builds strength. Every time we sit and we acknowledge a shadow aspect of ourselves or of the collective, we earn our stripes. And this vision came through in my conversation with Yasmin the other day of our shield as spiritual warriors. Our shield, every time we face a shadow aspect of ourselves and the collective, we get another stripe on our shield. We are earning our stripes. And we are contributing something we are contributing something constructive to the collective every time we do this. Every time we get out of our comfort zone and face the shadow of what's going on inside of us and in the collective, we earn our stripes. This is real life spirituality. This is real life. Like I hear a lot in the spiritual community about being a light warrior and being a light worker. This is what it is. This is what goes on behind the scenes. It's so much more than an Instagram feed. It's so much more than the crystals on your shelf. It is this gritty work of facing the shadow individually and collectively, and we earn our stripes. Whew. Did you see that little fluff that just went by? And it doesn't mean that we have to be super intense all the time. Like, I know I can be intense, and the work can be intense, but it can also be beautifully enriching when we expand our consciousness, when we hold the space for these stories that are happening, when we allow ourselves to really be as empathic as we can be and step into the shoes of other people for a short while, which is still only happening through our lens, but we're trying. We're trying. And that trying and that effort is what counts. The fact that you are educating yourself on these social issues, the fact that you are looking at things that are uncomfortable to look at and facing them with your heart open, that is some serious warrior work. That is some serious warrior work. So it's time. It's time for these stories to come out. It's time for us to look at them. It's time for us to start the healing process. It's time for us to band together. We are alive in this time of increased connectivity for a reason. It's not just so that we can have cool devices and play more like video games on our phone. It's so that we can connect and experience the collective consciousness in real time. Have a real 3D experience of the collective consciousness right here. And open ourselves and enrich and expand our consciousness using this connective tool that we have in our hands. We have more information at our fingertips now than even our parents had in an entire library system. We are so privileged to be alive right now. We are so privileged to have the lives that we do. And with great privilege comes great responsibility. It is our responsibility to learn the stories of the people who have built the systems that we are living in. It is our responsibility, wow, that was a big raven, to learn our history, every part of it, to learn the truth of our roots, and to learn the truth of where we come from, and learn the truth of the land that we stand on. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sending you all tons and tons of love from this beautiful water feature and from this city. I love you all very, very much. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. And subscribe down below for more videos like this. I promise they're not all this intense. Oh, but I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor and a privilege to be in front of you again. Sending you all tons and tons of love, and I'll talk to you soon.